Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the February 5th, 2018 meeting of the Milford Board of Aldermen. Please join us as we salute our flag. Madam Secretary, will you please take the roll?
Alderman Anderson?
Present.
Alderman Beatty?
Present.
Alderman Fortunati? Alderman Gaynor? Alderman Gurman?
Madam Secretary, Alderman Gurman will be late.
Thank you. Alderman Genotasio? Alderman Golden?
Here.
Alderman Grant?
Here.
Alderman Hardiman?
Madam Secretary, Alderman Hardiman would like to be excused.
Thank you. Alderman Smith?
Here.
Alderman Sutton?
Here.
Alderman Tranquilli? Alderman Veccarelli? Alderman Vitro?
Here.
Alderman Vitale? 13 present, Mr. Chairman.
We have 13 present. We do have a quorum. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Next portion of the meeting is devoted to public comment. Statements are limited to the legislative function of the Board of Aldermen. The time limit granted to each speaker shall be 3 minutes. Residents, taxpayers, and electors may address the board at this time. The board encourages speakers not to express derogatory, insensitive, or offensive statements, or to engage in personal attacks against any individuals. In order to allow everyone an opportunity to speak, I'd ask that everyone please limit their comments to 3 minutes. Anyone wishing to address the board can do so at this time. Seeing no one has any comments, thank you. Agenda item number 3, Alderman Veccarelli. Agenda item number 3, consideration of minutes. What?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Aldermen held on January 8th, 2018.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Agenda item number 4, there was no special meeting. Agenda item number 5, Chairman's report. Well, I'd like to wish everyone a very happy Valentine's Day, the day we all put aside to remember our loved ones, and we all know that the world could use a little love. And that's about it, all I got there. Agenda item number 6, Mayor's report. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To follow up on that Valentine's Day wishes, Milford, as you know, is a city of compassion. So for the whole month of February, let's continue to remember that Milford, by this board, has been officially designated a city of compassion. Hope all the Eagles fans out there enjoyed the game last night. It was a very, very good game, whether you were rooting for the Patriots or for Philadelphia. But on to the business of the city. If you look in your agendas, item 6A, I'd like to announce the appointment of Edward Mead to the Inland Wetlands Commission. For those items on the agenda 6A through 8Z, I respectfully request your consideration and action. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Agenda item number 7, unfinished business. There is no unfinished business. Moving on to new business. Alderman Veccarelli. Agenda item 8A.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the appointment of Reverend Matthew Lindeman of Glen Street as a member of the Ethics Committee to fill the present vacancy, term expire in 12/31/20.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Veccarelli, agenda item 8B.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the appointment of Gail McMillan of 258 West Rutland Road and Jessica DeYoung of 74 Oriole Lane as members of the Milford Government Access Television, MGAT, Commission to fill the present vacancies, term expiring 12/31/18.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli, agenda item 8C.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the appointment of John Krantz at 15 West Main Street as a member of the Historic Preservation Commission, term expiring 12/31/22.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli, agenda item 8D.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the appointment of Kelly Miller, 100 Viscount Drive, to the Tree Commission, term expiring 12/31/20.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli, agenda item 8E.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the appointment of Kelly Miller, the appointment of Frank Fortunati Jr., MD, at 165 Gulf Street, and Nadja Phelps of 1264 Naugatuck Ave as a member of the Transit District Authority Board, term expiring 12/31/19.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Thank you, Alderman Fortunati. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously except for one extension. Alderman Vecchiarelli, agenda item 8F.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
at this point, could we invite the newly confirmed members of our boards and commissions forward so that our city clerk can swear them in?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry. All the newly conformed board and commission members come to the front of the auditorium to be sworn in by their city clerk.
Could you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or sincerely affirm that you will uphold your duties and responsibilities to the best of your ability on your prospective boards for the city of Milford, so help you God, or under the pain or penalty for perjury or false statement? Thank you.
With all those people just got sworn in, please come to the right over there at the table, and you could sign in. Alderman Veccarelli, agenda item 8F.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the request for the attached allocation transfer number 2, the golf course HVAC.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Alderman Sutton.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the mayor. I note from our materials, is the amount sought, is that a cap on the potential replacement of the HVAC? That's not a firm number, correct?
Mr. Chairman, through you to Alderman Sutton, that is an expenditure limit, an allocation transfer. We do have members of our Golf Commission, Mr. Healy and Mr. Worrell, who have been involved with this project. Again, it's for the clubhouse at the Orchards Golf Course. It's for a new HVAC system, and they have priced it out. I think they continue to work with our Public Works office to get quotes and to get bids for the replacement of the system. But if you have any more detailed questions, they're here for those detailed answers.
Alderman Veccarelli. Or Alderman Sutton, you have questions for these? Okay. Alderman Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Can you explain a little bit about what this is about and why you need the money for that?
Well, on this cold night, we're talking about golf, but it's to replace the furnace and the air conditioning and all the HVAC system, heating, air conditioning, ventilation system at the clubhouse at the golf course. The present system is approximately 20 years old and is starting to fail on us, and it's very inefficient. So what we're looking to do is replace this. This number is a cap for the equipment. We anticipate spending a lot less. I've been working with Chris Saley as far as getting vendors, and he's had his people look at the system to try to come up with different ideas and try to reduce the cost if we can.
Mr. Healy, have you gotten estimates for this HVAC system?
We did go out for an RFP through the purchasing department, and we've got 2 estimates that were very far apart. And again, we're working with Chris to try to fine-tune those numbers. And depending on what we can do on that, but we did get some estimates. And 35 is the cap that we're looking at. Again, we're replacing the air conditioning system, which is 2 units, the boiler, and potentially the fuel tank, and possibly the hot water heater if the funds permit.
Okay, and there's a ceiling on it at $35,000.
Yeah, we don't anticipate spending that much, but yeah, that is the ceiling. That's the allocation transfer, is the $35,000.
I didn't realize it took all those components that you were speaking of.
Right, yeah, it's a complete system. The air conditioning system last summer failed a number of times, and a couple of times we've had the boiler fail, over the years. Again, it's 20 years old. It's not as efficient as new equipment is. Same thing with the hot water heater. It's an old tank, that we're pumping across the building to get hot water from point A to point B. So we're looking for more efficient equipment there. The ductwork is old fiberboard ductwork. We're going to replace that with insulated wrap ductwork, metal ductwork, and things like that, again, to improve efficiency. So that's what we're trying to do. We've done a number of improvements at the clubhouse over the years where we've upgraded the lighting to all LED and a lot of other motion sensor lights and things like that. So again, we're trying to be as green and as efficient as we can.
My job is to see if I can save the taxpayers money whenever I can.
Well, that's what we're hoping to do, the same by reducing energy costs.
And my son come over and watched the football game with us, and we were discussing it over a couple of beers, and we ran by him, and I didn't know that it had all those components. That's why I asked.
There's 2 separate air conditioning systems for each side of the building. The boiler feeds the entire building, the hot water heater, and again, the fuel tank, where we're looking to, if we have enough funds, to replace that with a double wall fuel tank. So in case we ever do spring a leak, the fuel tank is inside the clubhouse. So again, a 20-year-old tank potentially could fail, and we don't want to ruin everything we've just rebuilt there.
Any more questions? Alderman Veccarelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hi, Bill. This furnace, is it an oil furnace?
Yeah, it's oil-fired, and we looked into the potential of gas, but the nearest gas is on Woodruff Road. So we'd love to convert it, but it's nowhere near the facility there to bring gas in. And we thought about LP, but we don't want to put a bomb in the yard.
Yeah. This might be a difficult question for you, but do you have an approximate of how much oil maybe you go through a year?
To be honest, no.
The reason
The facility, the oil is not as big a portion of it. The facility is usually closed it's not in operation from mid-December till approximately mid-March. So the thermostat in the building is turned down to 55 during that time period. If there's something going on, we'll turn it up and then turn it down afterwards. But we just maintain 55 to 60 degrees so the pipes don't freeze in the building during the winter months.
I see. Currently, is the tank inside the building, the oil
Yes.
tank? The reason that I ask is because many people will install more than one tank. You know, I think whatever the statutes allow, but probably like 2 330s inside the building.
Presently, what we have inside the building is a 200-gallon steel tank, and we're looking to upgrade to a 275 double wall.
I was thinking 2 330s, which they're very comparable.
Well,
And if you bought the oil when it's cheaper, say in the summer, and you know there are times when you can get it cheaper, fill up, and you can maybe make it through the entire season without having to pay twice the oil. You know, I mean, twice the price. So
We can look into that, and the problem is space considerations. It's
Well,
in a
you're
closet.
allowed, you can put them outside or inside. I think you're allowed up to 4 tanks, 2 in and 2 out. But $35,000 when we discussed it was, a lot of us have had work done, and I understand, you know, we're talking, the commercial, the golf course, and, you know, there's other considerations, but it was a lot of money. But you're talking the air conditioning, the heat, the furnace, you're
Hot
talking
water
the
heater,
oil tank,
ductwork.
the ductwork, maybe the hot water heater, and so I would just recommend if you can, you know, put more than 1 tank in there, that'd be the time to do it. The installation won't be a heck of a lot more, and you can buy the oil a lot cheaper.
Yes,
You know,
we'll look
so-
into that. And again, we're trying to make everything run as smooth as possible.
Okay, and you're working with Public Works to try
Yes,
to get
Director Saley and I have
best-
been, talking. He's been in and he gave us a number of different ideas as far as like the hot water and energy, the instant hots and things like that, so.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any more discussion on the motion? Seeing none?
Thank
All
you.
in favor? Thank you, Bill. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Veccarelli, agenda item 8G.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the request for the attached DACWA terms of service for marina users and the authorization of the mayor, the harbor management operations director, and the city attorney to take all steps necessary, including signing all documents to effectuate said agreement.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Alderman Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I, through you, would just like to give Rafe Swift an opportunity to give us a brief overview of the proposal. Thank you.
Good evening. DACWA, which stands for Dock Wide Area, it's an app that was developed in 2015, and this outfit has approached us since then every year to see if we'd like to join on. It's an app that people can download to their computers or their phones. You can research marinas by name, by area. It's a pretty nice site. Based on your location, it'll first suggest marinas in your specific area. And I had reservations a couple years ago about signing up for this because they had a very strict cancellation policy. And we have a very liberal cancellation policy at the landing, and we understand that when people make reservations, they want to be there. And a lot of times when they can't, it's due to real reasons, health, mechanical, and weather comes into play an awful lot. So DACWA has evolved over the years to the point now where they understand and they've made it possible for our cancellation policy to be their cancellation policy for whatever marina or operation you're part of. So that made it much more attractive at this time. They're based in Newport, Rhode Island. They have an office in Cambridge, and they've signed up over 500 different marinas. They started on the East Coast, basically New England. Now they're through the Great Lakes to the West Coast to Florida. Like I said, there's over 500 operations that use it. I've personally used it before to make reservations at marinas. And it's nice. You put in your boat specifics, the dates you want to be there, and you're not making a reservation, but you're sending them a request. So we would receive requests over the computer. We could review them, and based on our availability, just get back and either confirm or deny. It's pretty straightforward. If anybody has any questions specific to what it is, it truly is just a reservation operation. They do collect the funds. Their take or their cut is 3.5%, and then the deposits, the revenue we make from it is automatically deposited into our accounts. And I've checked with our finance director about the operation, and they seem to think it'll work.
Thanks for the overview, Ray, and best of luck with the system this season. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Alderman Fortunati.
Thank you. Is this the first time the marina is using an app like this?
Yes. Yeah, we're strictly pencil and paper all these years, and we don't take down credit card numbers just to be safe. And everybody pays as they arrive. But no, we've never used something like this before. And like I said, I've personally used it to make reservations at other marinas, and it's pretty seamless. You put in the operation, you put in your information, and like I said, it's a request. So we get we're in full control of who comes and who is able to make an actual reservation.
Okay, and through the chair, so you see a savings in terms of your time or your staff's time?
Savings time, and I think it should broaden our customer base, just because there are so many. They claim they have over 100,000 boaters who have signed up for the app. So people traveling through, people who may not see us or are aware of that we even have this all transient marina, which is there aren't too many. I can only know of one other. I think it'll be a plus.
Yeah, it sounds like a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman Vitale.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. How you doing, Ray?
Very good.
Listen, other than the administrative cost of 3.5%, is there initial cost for them to set it up, number one? And two, is there a cost for the boater to buy the app, or is it a free app?
No, it's a free app, and there is no other expense. And I would invite everybody to just look it up. There's, you put in DACWA, there's only one that really comes up. It's a pretty impressive site.
think it's a great idea. Anything that will encourage people to come here, and even though we're on the map, to get more boaters down and get them into the city, I think it's a great idea. And thank you for all the work and your upkeep of the marina. I know I'm on the Harbor Commission, the liaison to the Harbor Commission, and you guys are doing a great job, so thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman Vecchiarelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ray, I was wondering when people do make their reservations through you, they come in and do they sometimes pay by credit card?
Probably 90%. I'm just saying most of our payments are through credit card.
And what does the credit card company take?
Well, we're just switching, in the process of switching from one that was 3.5 to one that is 2.5. And we'll still be able to, we'll still be able to take reservations over the phone, and we could, we could still charge through this new operation, which I believe is going to be at 2.5. 3.5 seemed a lot, but that was just the credit card company taking the fees with no service provided to us other than, managing the credit card transactions. This, we get something out of it, which in the form of new customers, I think will be a plus.
Yeah, so basically the added cost of this here company is pretty much the same as what the credit card was charging us anyway.
Yeah,
but
and it's 3.5. It's not on top of credit card fees. It's 3.5 for their service.
would it be fair to say it's like maybe a Travelocity or Expedia for marinas?
I would say that would be fair.
Okay, because I mean, yeah, we probably would become much more well-known and out there and...
Well, it's also going to make it easier for our customers to compare prices, and we try to keep our prices low to attract customers, and they'll be able to, look at our rates compared to others in the immediate area.
And you yourself are in favor of this, right? I mean, is this something you're looking forward to having?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, like I said, I've held off for a long time because of the cancellation policy, but now it's ours.
Alderman Gaynor.
Oh, through you, Mr. Chairman. But did you say, for clarity, did you say that this DACWA will then take the fees and then automatically deposit it?
Yes.
How is it done now when you get credit card payments?
Yeah, we swipe the cards and we make typically a weekly deposit to the finance department.
Great, so there's a time savings
Yeah,
as well
and we'll
for your
still have
staff.
cash. We'll still have cash transactions,
Mm-hmm.
and we also have the ability to, if we take a phone reservation, to put it into the DACWA system, which is nice because then we'll have the information, the personal information, the boat information, and which we don't have now. We start fresh every time somebody calls, so this will also help.
Great, so there's a time-saving element as well
I
for
would
you and
think
your
so.
staff. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion on the motion? Alderman Giannattasio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. Good evening. Mr. Swift, I just have a question on the contractual piece. That's something that stands out to me. I know that DACWA is just responsible for facilitating the payment. However, it goes into some detail and it references Stripe Incorporated, which then there's a Stripe Services Agreement, and it says specifically that this may be modified by Stripe from time to time, that the agreement in real time could change. And it's up to you to monitor that, to see what these changes are. So we're held accountable or responsible for whatever changes may occur. So I don't know how much research is done with this or if the city attorney reviewed this contract, but I'm just curious to know if they brought anything to your attention that might change. I don't know if it's the percentage rate of their fee that might change, but we are open-ended with that regard, and I don't know if that's something that maybe you can speak to.
I've spoke extensively with their salesman, Dan George, who would have liked to have been here, but he's out of Newport. And he was very clear that if something comes up that we don't like, and he didn't bring up this scenario of possible changes, but one thing he did bring up repeatedly was, you know, you can cancel at any time. So if we do monitor it and there is something we don't like, we can drop it.
Okay, I just wanted,
And you know what, I skim that. It's like reading the back of your credit card statement. I'm not so sure I would understand half of what was on that, in that agreement, but that's why we sent it to the law office.
okay, I just wanted to make that point, because the devil's in the details, and, you know, if that's what you were told, then I'm okay with it, but I am in support of the concept. I think it's great, so
Yeah,
good luck.
if they do anything that, you know, just doesn't make it palatable to us anymore, we can cancel.
Thank you.
Any more discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ray, for all your information. Alderman Veccarelli, agenda item 8H.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the request for the attached resolution regarding a grant application for the Department of Human Services.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Veccarelli, agenda item 8I.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the attached resolution regarding a grant application for youth and family services activities.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Veccarelli, agenda item 8J.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the resolution regarding a grant application for Office of Early Childhood.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Alderman Giannattasio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, if the health director is available, I do have a question in regards to this grant. Good evening.
Good evening.
Is this the first time that we are receiving this specific type of grant? Because it doesn't, the childhood, early childhood?
No, this grant has been in place for several years. It used to come through the Connecticut Department of Public Health. The state split agencies, so it's now called the Office of Early Childhood.
And can you just explain to the board what exactly that encompasses?
Sure, this contract is specific to, it's a child daycare contract, so the city actually subcontracts with Good Shepherd Child Development Center in town, and it's specific to assistance with those families so they can provide daycare services.
And that's based on their income?
Correct. They determine eligibility and a sliding scale based on income.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Deepa. At this point, I would like to entertain a motion to reorder the agenda to move items 12A1, 12A2, and 12A3, Report of Ordinance Committee, next on our agenda so that we can vote on the bonding ordinances. Is there a motion to reorder the agenda?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion has been made and seconded to reorder the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Frank Smith, agenda item 12A1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Ordinance Committee met earlier this evening to consider the three ordinances you've just mentioned. Ordinance number 1 is an ordinance appropriating $6,875,000 for various public improvements and authorizing the issuance of $6,875,000 of city bonds to meet said appropriation, and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose. This was recommended unanimously to the full board, and I'd like to make that in the form of a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Alderman Smith. Is there a second? Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, through you to the board, the February meeting is generally the month that your board is asked to authorize bonding requests. Generally, this board has approximately $30 to $40 million in requested bond authorization on an annual basis. As you see before you, it's approximately half that. Now, there are years where we've bonded much more than $40 million, where we have sought authorization of more than $40 million in a given year, and there's been years where we've done much less. But generally, it's between 30 and 40 million, at least over the last several years. This is about half of that normal authorization request, and that's because at some point over the next year or so, the police station may become before your board. So it is my intention that for this bonding year and the next bonding year, in terms of authorizations, we will do less, given that possible expense coming down the road for this board. So if you have any questions about any of these items, we have experts for both the city side improvements as well as the school side, as well as for our sewer upgrades.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there any discussion on the motion? Alderman Gaynor.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the capital improvement plan for the planetarium dated on 12/5/17, it looked like the amount was $480,000, and now it's $528,000.
Alderman Gaynor.
Oh, sorry, no.
We're not on that particular.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. I know you want to jump ahead. That's great.
And Mr. Chair, I think I can anticipate Alderman Gaynor's question for all of these ordinances. It is the recommendation of our finance director that all of these amounts requested have an additional 10% baked in for the financing charge. So not only will they be the amount requested or recommended in the capital improvement plan, but there will be an additional 10% finance charge on top of that. And if you look in the background information that's part of the packet, you see the itemization, or it's enumerated in terms of the financing as well as the various project costs.
Alderman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it should be noted that in this appropriation, the $6,875,000, the vast majority of those monies are allocated for city road and sidewalks and curb repaving. I'd like to, because that's such a big portion of this, $4,400,000, to just ask the mayor to maybe give us a brief update on improvements with regard to our program for road paving and sidewalks. I think one time you told me, Mr. Mayor, it's the number one thing that comes up in your office. Most of the people in the city of Milford, when they call the mayor, a lot of times they're looking for when their roads are being paved, and I know it's a matter of keen interest. Maybe you could just give us an update on that program.
Absolutely. Paving the city streets, picking up the garbage, and plowing the roads are the bread and butter parts of municipal service. Our Public Works Director is here to answer some detailed questions, but generally, it is approximately $200,000 a mile to pave. we would like to have between 15 and 20 miles paved. We have about 250 miles of center lane roads in Milford. So if we want to have a new road paving cycle, that's every 15 years, which is, the recommended amount we have to do between 15 and 20 years, and we do have some making up to do. So this will allow us to do that. The amount that's before you is not only for the paving, but also for sidewalks, parking lots, and things for our Walkable City initiative. As you know, we have been trying to improve our walkways and our pathways, especially at and around our schools, our parks, our beaches, and the periphery of our downtown, just to make it a more walkable, bikeable place. And that's what this is for. We used to, at one point, get more state assistance. At this point, this year at least, that money has been held back until further notice. So this locally funded portion may be the only amount that we have this year for this type of work, but this is one of the focuses of our Public Works Department. It's what we're looking to prioritize at this point and make Milford a more beautiful place.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Alderman Vitale.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the mayor. Did I misunderstand you or hear you? Between 15 and 20 miles, we kind of plan to pave this year? Was that the number?
That's what's anticipated.
Pardon?
Yeah, and if you look over the course of the last 2 years at least, we have paved over 15 miles of road in Milford each year. And that's, again, the goal.
Great. I mean, that sounds really good. I know over the last few years, we've been always asking what streets are going to be paved, and hopefully we, at this point, have a listing, and if we could be shared with the list, we can have that listing shared with us, I'd appreciate it. And the other thing, I know it's flexible, because maybe by the time you get to that particular street, it might jump up in priority because something happened over the winter time and it needs more attention. But do we have a list of streets?
We generally have a spring, a fall, a spring, a summer, and a fall paving cycle. And before each one, there is a list that's put up. It's posted on the Public Works website. We have an asphalt management program that we got as a grant several years ago, where every single city street in Milford, they were inventoried. The age of the street, the condition of the street was put into this software program that we have. Our city Public Works Director, our Assistant City Public Works Director, our city engineer meet, and they go through that list based on conditions, age of those streets, as well as the area. Obviously, we want to try to do streets in a contiguous neighborhood because there is a cost, especially for the milling equipment. Each time it's moved, there's an additional charge. So we try to do streets that are contiguous to each other. But if you do have more questions about that process, obviously, if there are complaints, those go onto the list, and our City Public Works Department does identify those streets as well.
Just to follow up, Mr. Chair. I know that we're probably going to be looking at a spring. We're looking in spring, right, as far as paving at this point. But there's got to be a list that we're going to be working off right now, right? Or being created or has been created. Is that right? True?
There is a list that's being generated right now for the next paving cycle, which is the spring paving cycle. The asphalt plants open, I believe, April 1st. So shortly on the heels of April 1st, we're going to start paving, and there should be a list generated before then. Our Public Works Director is here for more details if you need those.
Okay, so the point would be that we'd have to wait and look at the website in order to get those streets that are going to be paved in the spring, or do we have a list right now?
I don't believe the list is finished, but I'll let our Public Works Director speak for himself.
Good evening. We do not have a finalized list. We have a tentative list that we've kind of looked at. With the amount of utility work that's going on in the city and also other work that's going on, it can change. So we have what we call our hot list, where people have repeatedly asked to have streets paved. And as the mayor's explained, we're trying to put streets together so that we get better value. So we do not have a finalized list. The answer to
The list will be finalized at what point so we can see in case people ask us or
Sure.
constituents
It
ask?
changes all the time, Alderman Vitale, and I'll give you an example. We had an area down in Devon that we were going to do, and then the gas company had some issues with low pressure, and they are going to be putting high-pressure lines in, so that whole area came off. So that's one of the areas. Lennox Ave is one of the streets that, an example, they're putting the lines in right now as we speak. So we look at a complaint list. We look at the beta system that we have, which is an asphalt management list that was done a number of years ago that we update. So there's no confirmed list, and I would say ask. I know I probably make a mistake saying this, but if you have a street that you have a lot of complaints from your constituents, please give it to us, and we'll evaluate it.
I understand and I appreciate that, but the fact is, even a tentative list, it's always in flux and inflexible, but is there a tentative list right now
No.
that we? Nothing. Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion on the motion? Alderman Giannattasio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Mayor Blake. Mayor Blake, you've mentioned, that we're not getting the state assistance that we have gotten in the past, and we're all well aware of that. How long or how much longer do you continue to double down on this paving? Because you keep referencing that we have a lot of catching up to do. So is there a timeline? Because, historically, prior to your administration, we've always paved, differently. And another part of the question is, we also discussed the part of putting paving into the public works budget, a certain dollar amount, so we don't have to continually bond for paving. So I just want to get some of your thoughts on that.
Mr. Chairman, through you, traditionally, we have always bonded for paving. We do have a portion of the Public Works budget that does have some allocation for road maintenance, potholes and things of that nature, but for the main road paving, the city of Milford has always bonded at least a portion. I would say that the vast majority of towns and cities in the state of Connecticut, at least, and probably all over the country, follow a similar path, that streets are capital projects that last, 15 years, and most of the time they are bonded projects, just because it is really the heart and soul of what a bonded capital improvement is. So I would say that most cities and towns do bond for their paving projects, as does the state of Connecticut. All the money that they have set aside for DOT infrastructure work, which includes the paving of all the state roads, it's all bonded.
Okay, what do we currently have in our, I know we have a sidewalk account where we generate revenue from developers, is that right, Mr. Saley?
We have a sidewalk account that if a person's putting a house in and it's not appropriate to have a sidewalk put in, they pay into a sidewalk fund, and I'll get that number. I don't have that number. That's not part of this dollar amount, though. Excuse me, I got a small cold. But I would like to respond to something you said, Alderman Giannattasio, if you don't mind. You brought up about previous years, and I think I've been very vocal about this in front of this board. You have not appropriately funded over the last 10 years the road account. To really have the best roads that you can have in the city, you should fund between $2 and $2.5 million a year. That's the dollar amount at our present value for tonnage, for $78 a ton for asphalt. And I understand there's always a lot of constraints. Previously, over the last few years, last year we did $4 million, the year before we did $2 million, and the year before that we did $1 million. Previous to that, it was grossly underfunded. And I know it's not always easy to make these capital improvements. This board has given us a lot of resources over the last few years. I greatly appreciate it, but it just needs to be done. And how you appropriate, if it's bonding or operational, that's up to this board. But I just would tell you that the monies that we're trying to catch up on, that's what we're trying to do, is get the sidewalks, get the curbs, get the roads fixed. There is a tremendous need in the city with potholes and the roads disintegrating. And we want to get into a pavement preservation system, so it's not just a mill and fill. There's crack sealing, there's chip sealing, there's other avenues that give great value for us and extend the road life of a road. You did ask at one of the meetings, the previous Public Works Committee meeting, and I have some information for you about what we paved this past year, and I have that for you so you can see. We paved approximately 18 miles of road. We have approximately $300,000 left in that account, and we keep that as an aside so that we can start on sidewalk work, because that's part of it. And we have a lot of projects that we're looking to do. This past year, we worked with the fire department and Chief Ito and Chief Baker. We repaved the back of the Naugatuck Ave Fire Station that was in disrepair, and the city got great value because we got our VIP pricing from the state for that. And the fire department, I think, we were trying to get the front, but we didn't get that. Hopefully, we'll get that this year. We also are looking at a lot of the parking lots that need work. So there's just a tremendous need that we're trying to address through this package.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to get an idea from the sidewalk account that we do create revenue from, how much money we're actually saving the taxpayer without having to bond for some of, you know, all of the sidewalk improvements. So we do have money coming in from that account as well. And do you have any idea what that account generates, or maybe to the finance director, would you happen to know what the balance is in that account?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I don't have the exact balance, but I would venture to say that it's definitely less than $1 million.
Okay.
And to the mayor's point, he just reminded me that it's really probably much lower than that. The last time Chris asked me about it was in the 100,000 range, and we don't collect a huge amount of money each year in that fund. It's on an as-needed basis when applicable.
Yes, to answer the question, I can get that for you, but I would bet that it's under $50,000 in that account.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Saley. Alderman Smith, agenda item 12A2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Ordinance Committee met earlier this evening to consider an ordinance appropriating $3,828,000 for various school improvements and authorizing the issuance of the same amount in city bonds to meet said appropriations, and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for this purpose. This is an ordinance for school improvements, including the aforementioned planetarium. It was voted unanimously for referral and recommendation to the full board. I'd like to make that as in the form of a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Alderman Vitale.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through whomever, I think either Mr. Richard Tully or Mr. Berkowitz, when we talk about the planetarium, I think I read seats, console, et cetera. There's always a design phase to it. You can answer, Jim. It always has a design phase to it. Is that design phase indicative of an architect designing it? Or do we just get the chairs, put the chairs in, put the console in, and rewire?
Well, Mr. Chairman, through you to Alderman Vitale, members of the board, with me tonight, we have a whole team of people. Assistant Superintendent Jeff Burt is here, Principal of Foreign High School Max Berkowitz, and our Instructional Supervisor for Science and Technical Ed. Did I get it right? Nice. Is here, Justine Lasala, and we can answer any questions that you have regards to the planetarium. We also have others that are here tonight who can answer any questions that you have on the athletic improvements at the two high schools and the security upgrades. So, specific to your question regarding the planetarium, I'll just give the general overview, and if Max and Justine want to fill in the details. The planetarium is the original. First of all, to have a planetarium at a high school really distinguishes Milford from, there's not a lot of planetariums anywhere, but to have one in a high school, I think there's very few. So that's one of the things that, you know, it's an asset that we have that, you know, the vast majority of other districts don't have. But the planetarium itself it's the original equipment that was put in when the school was built in 1973. There's a main console, that's what I'm going to call it, the main console that does all the projecting and everything inside the planetarium. And the company that built that is no longer in business. Parts are very hard to find. When there's When there's a need for a part, virtually, somebody has to get on the phone and call other planetariums that might have a spare part. It's coming to the end of its life expectancy, and it will include the projection system and all the seating. The seating is also the original 73.
And I appreciate that, and I remember way back when Al Sacro was the original designer and the sole caretaker of that planetarium. All I'm interested in the fact that I know we have seats and we have a console, and the rewiring, whatever, but it always has a design phase in it?
We will need a design professional, an architect or an engineer to help us, but the equipment, the purchase of the equipment really is the main
And I guess that's my question. Why is there a design architect? Because don't we put the seats in the same order, position, and the console in the same position? So I'm wondering what the extra money would be spent on a design phase.
So, yeah, I'm going to preface that I know some things about planetariums, but I'm not a complete expert. So there's probably about three, yes. Oh, can you not hear me? Okay. There's probably about 3 companies in the United States that work in planetariums. And generally, we have an organization, it's called Ash Enterprises, and they're one of those organizations that install planetarium systems. They design and install them in buildings. They're located in DC. So they come up every year and they do our annual maintenance on our planetarium. Generally what you do is when you hire, you go decide what we would want to do, and they would design it because they know all the aspects of the planetarium. So they also get involved in the seating. They kind of do everything. Does that make sense? So they know how the orientation of the seats and how it should be designed. When I met with them to get the original, our estimates right now about what we would need to redo it, they were able to tell me what needs to happen in the dome. The dome needs to be cleaned and painted. What kind of options are there for seats now? What kind of options for different projectors are there now? So they really kind of do everything with you when you contract with them.
So we're not talking about a total reconfiguration. We're talking about a replacement with everything, and that one company does everything. We're not getting a design expert from somewhere to design to redesign it. It's already there.
No.
Okay.
That's not what we were thinking.
Thank you.
The plan is just replacement of what's there.
Alderman Vecchiarelli.
Thank you. I have just a couple of questions. Could you explain to me exactly what do they do in there, in the planetarium? What is it used for,
Sure.
and who uses it? Is it just foreign, or could you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. Currently, we use the planetarium for the K-12 system. So we run courses at Foreign, obviously, in astronomy and observational astronomy that students can take as electives. However, we also run an astronomy course at Law, and the students will take a field trip over to go see a star show. We also, as part of our curricular expectations, all 8th grade students go to the planetarium for a show, and all 5th grade students do. And so that's just the basic, but I think if we start thinking about an upgraded system, we could start thinking about expanding the use of the planetarium in the community. A lot of other school districts around the country, they use their planetarium as a community resource as well, not only just a school-based resource.
So on the big round dome, you're showing like the planets in our universe and where they sit, and all the little stars and the, stuff like that, so they can kind of visualize, the solar system. Is that what I'm saying?
So generally, planetariums are learning tools so that individuals can learn about what we know about the stars and the near universe. It doesn't see the entire universe. But as we were exploring what the possibilities for a redesigned and an upgraded planetarium, they do now offer digital systems. Our current system is an optical system, an optical mechanical system. We could look into a digital system which not only shows the stars in the dome, but you could also include interactive video. So you could be looking at Mars, it's not a star, but you look at it in the planetarium, and then if it were a hybrid system, you could zoom in and you could actually see pictures of the planet Mars. And what would it feel like to stand there? So you can, the new systems are a lot more dynamic than the one we have currently. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But primarily, they're learning tools. Planetariums are really considered learning tools for individuals. But again, I said you could use it for beyond just a learning tool for schools. It could be a learning tool for the community as well.
Alderman Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. So I think upgrading the planetarium is a fantastic idea. I remember taking classes in there in the 90s, and it definitely could use an upgrade. Actually, you brought up a point about the hybrid digital system. I had an opportunity over the summer to go to the Hayden Planetarium, and I'm assuming we're not going to have the technology that they have, but are we going to have something similar to that? Are you looking for that digital? Because it is amazing when you have the interaction, and it will definitely help the students learn, and it'll be a better experience.
Yeah, so obviously you'd have to take cost considerations, and obviously there's all different models you can get depending on how much you want to spend. But pretty much when you look at schools and what they're currently doing, they're really going for the hybrid, because the hybrid just offers a lot of flexibility. And so yeah, that piece is what we're thinking about.
Any more further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Riccitelli. Alderman Smith, agenda item 12A3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Ordinance Committee met earlier this evening and to consider an ordinance appropriating $2,600,000 for the design and construction of sanitary sewers and wastewater facilities, and the authorizing the issuance of the same amount in city bonds to meet such appropriation, and pending the issuance thereof and the making of temporary borrowings for that purpose. Again, this was for sanitary sewer projects, and it was unanimously recommended to the full board. I'd like to make that in the form of a motion, Mr. Chairman.
I second the motion.
Thank you, Alderman Smith. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Alderman Giannattasio.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Is Ray Macaluso here to speak to the sewer improvement?
No, if there's detailed questions, our DPW director is here. I can answer some of the more broad questions if you have any of those.
So I guess my question is the approach of the scope of work. How exactly is it going to be done, and how long has this been in the plans to repair?
Mr. Chairman, through you to Alderman Giannattasio, it has come onto our capital improvement plan this year for the first year based on several breaks over the course of the last year. The need for this section of pipe, about 3,500 feet, really from the end of Nugget Ave over to the pump station at Walnut Beach, especially the closer you get to the pump station at Walnut Beach, the more breaks. We actually, a few months ago, have repaired a very small section coming out of that pump station at Walnut Beach just because of the number of breaks that we've had. But this is a pretty long swath of existing pipe that we are looking to replace. There are a couple different methods that we're going to be putting out for bid and putting out for prices. We might look into a pipe bursting method, which our Public Works Director can talk more about, or just to dig up the entire road, which would obviously cause more disruption, which is the standard removal and replacement process.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'm just trying to get an idea, like when we did the last repair, what did something like that cost the city to repair it when it breached?
Sure. So We hired a local contractor to do the actual laboring work. The work, we bought all the equipment, all the materials. It was somewhere in the ballpark of about, I think it was $19,000.
Is that typical for, like, you said several breaches over the past year? Is that a round number as far as what it costs, or is it different every time depending on where and what's involved?
A lot of the work that we've done with the sewer department directly. A number of years ago, they hired contractors for all the work. We went to the sewer department and said, hey, you guys interested in doing this work with some overtime? And we bought the equipment. This one repair that we brought a contractor in was over 100 feet of pipe to get replaced, so it was really beyond our scope. It's been a combination of the two different things. And right now, the pipe is, it's just a matter of time. We're struggling with the pipe, to be honest.
So we've already replaced 100 feet of the existing pipe? I mean, that's not part of this, but it's already been done?
Yes.
And when will we know how it's going to be repaired, as far as whether it's going to be the bursting, or the laying in another pipe?
Traditional construction. So I talked with Ray Macaluso from Westcott and Mapes this morning, actually, about that. So we're going to go out with two different scenarios. One is a total reconstruction, and then one will be the pipe burst, and we'll see what's more competitive and what's more appropriate to do in the area. The pipe burst, they do trenching about every 500 feet, 400 feet, and they actually take it's a 12-inch ductile iron pipe that they go and break it open with a tool, and then they pull a high-density plastic pipe behind it. So there's less involvement. It's a quicker project. So we're going to look at both, and then between the mayor and the sewer commission, we'll make a decision on which avenue we take.
Is the repair going to be based on cost factor, as far as what's cheaper to do the bursting or to put in a new pipe? Like, is it just going to be based on pure economics, how we're going to approach it?
I think we're going to look at longevity. We've never done that style of construction in the city with this pipe burst. So we're tentatively right now doing some research on it. And we're going to look at both avenues and see with the consulting of our consultant and with the mayor's office, and decide what's in the best interest of the city.
What has the consultant recommended up until this point? Has he recommended the pipe bursting or just laying in a new pipe?
Well, since we're going to be doing both options, I believe he's comfortable with both, but I would not want to speak for Mr. Macaluso.
So when this goes out to bid, you're going to ask a contractor to bid on both scenarios?
Option one, option two, yes.
And what are they bidding on? Are they bidding on a design?
They will be responsible. We're having Westcott and Mapes do the bid documents, and then we're doing what they call a design build for either one of them. It really puts the contractor, the awarding contractor, responsible to do the homework on soil conditions, pipe conditions. They'll be responsible because they're going to own it. They're going to do the design. Then once we award it and we look at the design, we'll make a decision.
And you feel that this is a better approach than having our consultant do the design and then just putting it out to bid?
Well, I think if you've been doing something for 30 years, to try new ways is a good idea. I'll use Dorena Place as an example. Dorena Place originally was spec'd out, I think, to be $1.6 million. The city did that work for, I believe, under $650,000, $700,000. Brand new sidewalks, curbs. We were creative. We had our inspectors in the engineering department do it. This project will be a little different. The consultant will be doing the CA, construction administration. But I think anytime you can break things out into smaller incremental pieces, an example, we're not allowing the contractor to say buy the pipe so they don't put 10% of profit and overhead on it. Now, you don't think that's a big deal, but if you have $500,000 worth of pipe, that's 50 grand that you just saved the city. And we try to simplify the projects. And we try, truthfully, most of the contractors that are involved usually have value engineering ideas that I think will be beneficial for the city. And so it's a team approach. We have to work with them.
So ultimately, the CA, which is our consultant, is going to approve the design build from the contractor when he submits the bid?
No, the CA is construction administration, so after it's awarded, they work with the contractor. Like right now, Westcott and Mapes is doing the CA for the pond dredging. They're doing the oversight to make sure that the contractor's doing the work that's according to the bids. That's the CA part. So That's what we're looking for Westcott and Mapes to do. We wouldn't do that internally. This is a bigger project, like the mayor says. It's 3,500 linear feet of sewer pipe, 12-inch ductile iron, going from the pump station at Walnut Beach all the way to almost the hill before where Alderio's used to be.
I guess my question is, who is going to approve the design build from a contractor before we go into, you know, an agreement where they start work? Who's gonna, you know, from an engineering standpoint, who's going to approve it and stamp it and say that it's gonna work?
So what we envision is the contractor will supply a design for that, and our construction administrator, who is Westcott and Mapes, would approve that.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was getting at. So now, do you feel that this is something that takes more time, or is it that the time isn't a necessity at this point? To go through this process the way that you're approaching it?
I think it simplifies the process myself, but everyone has an opinion. That's my opinion.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me this time. So what about a contractor, though? I'm just thinking that you were asking them to bid on 2 different scenarios, so they have to actually do a design build on both. So they're gonna have some in-house expenses just to bid on the project. Are you getting any pushback from that, or they're okay with that?
Well, an example, we did the design permitting project at Beaverbrook for the boardwalk over there. We had probably 8 companies that spent anywhere between $1,000 and $5,000 for a project was $50,000 or $60,000 in total expenses. So there's companies that go out, they know that's part of doing business. But no, and getting back to the other question you had, there might be companies that just bid one part of it, that say, hey, I just want to just do the traditional construction. And there might be a company that does both, or there might be a company that does one or the other. So I think it works, it gives flexibility to the city.
Okay, I appreciate your explanation, and just for the record, we've never done a pipe bursting approach. This would be the first if it's approved?
Unless you know something I don't, I believe this is the first one.
Okay, so I'm just looking forward to see, you know, how this all shakes out and if we end up going in that direction. But thank you.
Thank you.
Any more discussion on Alderman Anderson?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Chris. Good evening, Chris.
Good evening, Alderman Anderson.
My question is about schedule. We know how densely housed an area this is, with a number of apartments, condos, and private homes, as well as it being the location of an important public housing site and adjacency to Walnut Beach. So wondering how you intended to handle the scheduling of the work.
Yeah, in the bid documents, I talked with Mr. Macaluso today about this. If we couldn't get it completed by mid-May, we wouldn't do it until after Labor Day. We would put it, obviously, we understand how busy that area is down there with the amount of events. You know, ideally, we were hoping to get it done in the wintertime, because it's a great wintertime project. But we'll play it by ear, depending on how quickly Ray gets the bid documents out. I mean, we could turn them in about a month with Fred Bialka from our purchasing agent, our purchasing department. So right now, I mean, for all intents and purposes, it would be March 1st. You know, a month puts us at April 1st, and then the timeline to do the work depending on where we stand. But I haven't really talked to Ray about a schedule, so I probably shouldn't even get into that. But I would say if we can't get it completed by, you know, mid-May, we won't do it until the fall.
Thanks for that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any more discussion on the motion? Alderman Vitale.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the director. Chris, you had indicated the fact that from the pump station to close to Alderio's is the area that is going to be worked on.
Yes.
Not too long ago, we had an area from where Alderio's is to Route 1, close to. Is that
Alderio's to where?
To Route 1, toward Route 1?
Yes.
Is that going to be affected also, or is that complete? Are we having problems with that?
Yeah. So just to explain how a force main works, it's a pressurized line. It's not a typical gravity-fed line. Gravity-fed, it goes downhill. This one actually puts pressure on it, but it daylights into a manhole that's right above that, at the crest of that hill, right before Old Point Road, and then from there it goes down. So no, we wouldn't be involved with that other area that's recently been paved.
It's complete and working well, and there's no problem.
Yes, it's gravity-fed from there down.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, just to Alderman Vitale, the project from Alderios to Route 1, that was not a sanitary sewer project, that was a stormwater sewer project, a drainage project that was paid for by federal highway money. This is sanitary sewers.
Any more discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Saley. Alderman Vecchiarelli, at this point, we will return to agenda item number 8K. Alderman Vecchiarelli.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the request for the attached resolution regarding a cash advance for various, what are we at, school? Public improvements for 2018.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the resolution regarding a cash advance for various school improvements for 2018.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli, agenda item 8M.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the request for the resolution regarding a cash advancement for design and construction of sanitary sewers for 2018.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli, agenda item 8N.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the resolution regarding Milford Board of Education concerning security infrastructure upgrades at John F. Kennedy Elementary School for 2018.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Alderman Vitale.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just would like to reiterate my concern in knowing that we're spending a lot of money, and I know it has to be done on security measures for the schools, but having looked at the Board of Education population and census for their schools, there are many schools under 300 kids. I just hope that if there's any long-range plan of closing any school and having anything to do with closings, they take a good hard look at what we're spending on security upgrades so that we don't really have a waste of money and a waste of concern as to what schools are going to be getting these upgrades. So I've said this in the past, and I'm reiterating it at this point. We need to think and we need to know what the long-range plans are. If there's nothing, I know the answer is there's no contemplation of closing any schools. But when we look at those schools, when we look at the population of those schools being under 300 kids and only one school being above 300 kids, we got concerns. So I just want to make that aware of everybody aware of that.
Mr. Chairman, through you to Alderman Vitale, items 8L through 8Z are purely for reimbursement from the state of Connecticut. We're doing 13 of the 14 schools. West Shore does not need to be done because they're presently in a construction project, as you know, where their security upgrades are incorporated into that project. This is for the other 13 schools so that the school building committee, for which you're a member, can identify those schools to prioritize first. And through that committee, you will be able to prioritize which schools will be receiving security enhancements first.
Just to follow up on that, we just finished the upgrade at East Shore Middle School, and we still have further upgrades in security within the matter of a couple of years of upgrading that school. So things are moving ahead quickly and expensively. So that's all I need to make people aware of, that we need to think about what we're doing and how we're doing it in the future. Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, a lot of the security upgrades are the result of statutory requirements that came about after Sandy Hook. So a lot of these new requirements, for example, to have a hardened front entryway at the schools, that's something that's legislatively mandated at this point, and it's just within the last couple of years. So that's why some of these security infrastructure improvements are coming before your board, coming before the Board of Ed as priority items.
Just as a follow-up, I know, the hardening of the entranceways, was that just passed as a mandated issue? Or was it 2 or 3 years ago when we were building East Shore and we don't have that piece at East Shore, even though we did talk about it at one point?
It was just within the last couple of years. Again, it was subsequent to Sandy Hook.
I know that, but we did the last couple of years, we did the upgrades to East Shore Middle School.
In East Shore, I think the design was done in 2011.
Thank you.
Alderman Giannattasio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Mayor Blake. Mayor Blake, are all of these security upgrades reimbursable, or are some of them unfunded mandates?
I believe that all the security upgrades are eligible for reimbursement. So yes, for the security upgrades, yes.
Thank you.
Any more discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli, agenda item 8O.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the resolution regarding the Milford Board of Education concerning security infrastructure upgrades to Meadowside Elementary School 2018.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli, agenda item 8P.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the resolution regarding the Milford Board of Education concerning security infrastructure upgrades at Pumpkin Delight Elementary School 2018.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli, agenda item 8Q.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the resolution regarding the Milford Board of Education concerning security infrastructure upgrades at Live Oaks Elementary School 2018.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli, agenda item 8R.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the resolution regarding the Milford Board of Education concerning security infrastructure upgrades at Orange Ave Elementary School 2018.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli, agenda item 8S.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the resolution regarding the Milford Board of Education concerning security infrastructure upgrades at Mathewson Elementary School 2018.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli, agenda item 8T. Orchard Hills.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the resolution regarding Milford Board of Education concerning security infrastructure upgrades at Orchard Hills Elementary School 2018.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli, agenda item 8U.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the attached resolution regarding Milford Board of Education concerning security, infrastructure, upgrades, Captain Meadow Elementary School, 2018.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli, agenda item 8V.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the attached resolution regarding Milford Board of Education concerning security infrastructure upgrades at the Academy, 2018.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli, agenda item 8W.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the resolution regarding the Milford Board of Education concerning security infrastructure upgrades at East Shore Middle School, 2018.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli, agenda item 8X.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the resolution regarding the Milford Board of Education concerning security infrastructure upgrades at Harborside Middle School, 2018.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli, agenda item 8Y.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the resolution regarding the Milford Board of Education concerning security infrastructure upgrades at Joseph A. Foreign High School, 2018.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli, agenda item 8Z. Wow.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the attached resolution regarding the Milford Board of Education concerning security infrastructure upgrades at Jonathan Law High School, 2018.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Agenda item number 9, there is no new business. Agenda item number 10, moving on to budget memo transfers. Alderman Vecchiarelli, agenda item number 10A.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the budget memo transfers number 5 and number 6, Funds 10, FY 18.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli, agenda item 11, refunds.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the refunds in the amount of $45,047.86.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Agenda item number 12, reports of standing committees. Are there any reports? Alderman Frank Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Ordinance Committee met earlier this evening to consider an ordinance establishing Chapter 20.5 Taxation, Section 20.5 to 15 of the Milford Code of Ordinances. This is property tax abatement for surviving spouses of police officers, firefighters, and emergency medical technicians. This ordinance was considered and was unanimously approved for recommendation and referral to the full board this evening, and I'd like to make that in the form of a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Alderman Fortunati.
Are we discussing the ordinance now? Okay, all right, just wanted to be clear. I'm fully in support of the ordinance as written. I explained to some of you, this matter first came to my attention when I was campaigning last fall, and I met a resident in my district, the 5th District. She was a widow. She was aware that this board had passed the Gold Star exemption property benefit, and she wanted to know if the city could provide a similar benefit to families like hers. She's a widow. Her husband was a state police auxiliary officer, and he was killed in 1994. And she had advised me that there were other families situated like hers in Milford. Through my research, I've discovered that there are 4 families in Milford like hers total. Only one of these families, one of these widows, was married to someone who was a Milford firefighter. The other 3 families are their husbands who were killed in the line of duty. They worked for West Haven and Bridgeport, and then the woman that I met, she was state police, or her husband was in the state police. The state statute that gives us the authority to enact an ordinance like this is broad. We can give a total property tax abatement, or we can offer a portion. And the way the proposed ordinance is that we're considering tonight is 50%, which I think is very moderate, middle of the road. The way it's also written is that it applies to any fallen first responder, not necessarily someone who is employed by the city of Milford. And I'm in favor of it applying to, not restricting it to a fallen first responder of Milford. The intent, I think, should be to look out for our own and provide for the families who live in Milford, who have suffered this catastrophic loss, who've dealt with the financial hardship and sacrifice. So I'm in favor of the proposal as written, and I hope that you'll support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Fortunati. Is there any more discussion? Alderman Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief. I'd like to associate myself with the ordinance as it's presented. A lot of hard work went into it. I think it's a good measure. I'd like to commend my colleague, Alderman Fortunati, for bringing it before us. Congratulations. Thank you.
Is there any more discussion on the motion? Alderman Frank Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I likewise enthusiastically support and endorse this ordinance. The 50% abatement, when compared with the Gold Star ordinance that Alderman Fortunati referred to earlier, is more generous in that respect. There was also some questions because the other municipalities will only recognize this if the emergency personnel were killed in the line of duty in the service of that town's firefighting or police or emergency medical departments. This extends, as Alderman Fortunati mentioned, to any property owner in Milford whose next of kin, whose closest relative served in any capacity within the state of Connecticut. And that's another important point. It could very well have extended to the entire country. I think it's a fair compromise. The Gold Star abatement, for instance, doesn't distinguish where the family's originally from, only that they're property owners in Milford and they died in the service to their country, which I think you could kind of make the same generalization about emergency first responders. are not from a particular place or a particular city. They serve everyone in the community in that capacity the same way our fallen service members have. So I just wanted to bring that up because there are differing interpretations within the statute, as Alderman Fortunati mentioned, and I think that's an important one to recognize. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, if I may, just to clear up one thing. It's not just next of kin, it's surviving spouse and it's principal residence. It's not just any property, just so that it's clear what's before this board.
Thank you, Mr. Bertram. Okay, Frank. Any more discussion on the motion? Alderman Giannattasio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. I would also like to rise in support of Alderman Fortunati's ordinance as presented. And I would like to thank you for sharing that story. It makes it even more meaningful. And, you know, it's too bad that the person wasn't here this evening, but I think that says a lot to bring it to the board and have it, you know, dealt with. I'm surprised that we never even had anything like this, but it's, you know, it's a great thing, so I would just like to acknowledge you. Thank you.
Alderman Vecchiarelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a quick, what I would like to know on page 1, as we talk about the emergency medical technicians. And, you know, as we all know, we have the emergency medical technicians, and then a step up, we have paramedics. So they both work very closely together, very much in the same line. One is a little bit more higher trained in the medical field. So I just want to make sure that the EMT and paramedics are kind of synonymous. And so maybe through you, Mr. Chairman, to the city attorney, what will we have to do here to make sure that we include the paramedics?
Mr. Chairman, it's my understanding that in order for you to be a paramedic, you also have to be an EMT. It's the first step. The paramedic training is an advanced training, but you also have to be an emergency medical technician.
Just the last thing I was wondering is, on page 2, number 7, the surviving spouse, the term surviving spouse, what is the defined with the Connecticut general statutes on that? Is that like a married couple, period?
I don't have through you, Mr. Chair, to Alderman Vecchiarelli, I don't have it memorized, but I think what you've seen is the evolution of recognized civil unions as marriage, so it's a more encompassing term. So by just putting as recognized by the Connecticut general statutes, it adapts to the law.
Okay, so I mean, I look at this as a little broader than just, you know, husband or wife, so if I'm not mistaken, but.
Well, I think what we're saying is spouse is what the law defines spouse as opposed to.
Any more discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Smith, agenda item 12-5.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Ordinance Committee met earlier this evening to consider an ordinance amending Chapter 18, Planning, Article 21, Historic Preservation Commission, Sections 18-221, 18-226, and 18-227 of the Milford Code of Ordinances. This is an amendment to the Historic Preservation Commission existing ordinance, amending some of the language with regard to dates and updating it. It was reviewed and recommended with a unanimous vote to the full board, and I would like to make this in the form of a motion, Mr. Chairman.
I second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli, I'm sorry, Alderman Frank Smith. The last one is item 12.
This is it, I promise.
6.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Ordinance Committee met earlier this evening to consider an ordinance amending Chapter 19, Employment Conditions and Benefits, Article 2, Public Safety Employees, Section 19-13E, Employee Benefits regarding longevity. This also, since the agenda was released, had another Scribner's error that was corrected. This is largely a change to the existing language. It is an amendment to the existing ordinance regarding the actual bargaining unit, the Milford Police Unit, as opposed to the International Association of Firefighters. Section 2, same, Local 994, International Association of Firefighters. And finally, a higher date was corrected from February 1st, 2017 to 2018. The ordinance was considered and unanimously recommended to the full board for consideration tonight, and I'd like to submit that, Mr. Chairman, as a motion.
I second the motion.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Alderman Smith. Still under agenda item number 12, is there any more reports of standing committees? Seeing none, we'll open under agenda item number 13, reports of any special committees. Is there any special committee reports? Alderman Vitale.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think, as we all know, that at this particular point in time, that our superintendent is retiring, and I would like to congratulate her on her decision for retirement and wish her well in retirement. She did a fantastic job in the calming effect of aftermath of what we had gone through with the Board of Education, but hopefully that her replacement will be as genuine and as well-deserved as she. So congratulations, Betty Fieser. Thank you for the job well done.
Thank you, Alderman Vitale. Is any more standing committee reports?
Mr. Chairman.
Alderman Anderson.
Just an announcement that there is a public hearing scheduled on Thursday evening to hear about the proposed Gulf Street improvements, and that's scheduled at Parsons in Conference Room A. I believe it's 6:30, Thursday night. Okay.
6:30, Conference Room C?
A.
Thursday night at 6:30?
Yeah.
Thank you, Alderman Anderson. This Thursday. Any more reports of standing committees? Seeing none, we'll open under agenda item number 14, executive session. I will entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss consideration of settlement of Milford Medical Group versus City of Milford regarding 20 Commerce Park. 14B, consideration of settlement Michael G. Flagiello et al. Versus City of Milford regarding 23 Abigail Street. Joining us in executive session for items 14A and 14B will be the Mayor and City Attorney John Bertram and Assessor Dan Thomas. Is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to go into executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're in executive session. Will the aldermen please take their seats? Thank you. We are out of executive session. Alderman Vecchiarelli, agenda item number 14A, actually.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to authorize settlement in the matter of the Milford Medical Group versus City of Milford regarding 20 Commerce Park in accordance with the recommendation of the city attorney and the city assessor as discussed in executive session.
Second the motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Vecchiarelli, agenda item number 14B.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to authorize settlement in the matter of Michael G. Flagliello et al. Versus City of Milford regarding 23 Abigail Street in accordance with recommendations of the city attorney and city assessor as discussed in executive session.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion has been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.